Imagine waking up tomorrow morning to complete silence. No phone buzzing, no refrigerator humming, no streetlights glowing. The power grid has collapsed, and you have exactly 30 days to survive without any government help, emergency services, or modern conveniences. Most people wouldn't make it past week 2. Here's the brutal reality of what actually happens when the lights go out for good. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the day-by-day breakdown of a month-long blackout scenario. You'll discover the critical mistakes that kill people in the first 72 hours, the psychological breaking points that happen around week 3, and the harsh truths about how society actually collapses when the grid goes down. By the end, you'll know exactly what it takes to be among the survivors. Welcome to Prep Pantry, where we cut through the fantasy and show you real survival strategies. If this reality check opens your eyes to something you hadn't considered before, smash that like button and subscribe for more no-nonsense preparedness content. The onset of a grid-down event is abrupt and unforgiving. One moment, life is normal. The next, silence and darkness envelop your home and neighborhood. The first instinct for many is panic, but survival hinges on swift, calculated action within the first 6 hours. These initial hours determine whether you'll be counting days until rescue or counting the days you have left to live. Water becomes your #1 priority before anything else. Most people make the fatal mistake of assuming the taps will keep working for at least a day or two. Wrong. You have maybe hours before the pressure drops to nothing. Fill every available container in your house: pots, bowls, bathtubs, buckets, even plastic bags if you have to. This simple step can mean the difference between comfort and desperation in the days ahead. While your neighbors are still trying to figure out why their phones don't work, you're securing the one resource that will kill you fastest if you don't have it. Your freezer becomes a lifeline, but only if you act fast. Pack it tightly with bottles of water and frozen vegetables to extend the cold and slow spoilage. What you freeze in these first hours may be the last fresh food you see for weeks. Don't open that freezer door unless absolutely necessary. Every time you do, you're literally letting your future meals rot away. Now comes the harsh reality of inventory and rationing. Take stock of your supplies immediately and focus only on real sustenance: rice, beans, canned goods, pasta, oats. Forget about comfort food and treats. Begin rationing immediately, and I mean immediately. Every bite you take today is one less bite for tomorrow, and tomorrow might stretch into next month. This isn't a diet, it's mathematics. Calculate how many calories you have and divide by 30 days minimum. As the hours turn into days, the cracks in society begin to show with frightening speed. Stores are stripped bare within 48 hours. Not days, hours. Gas stations are shuttered because their pumps need electricity. Hospitals are overwhelmed as people realize their medical devices don't work and their medications are spoiling in unpowered refrigerators. The most vulnerable, children, the elderly, the sick, are the first to suffer, and their families become increasingly desperate. Security and discretion become matters of life and death. Desperation transforms neighbors into potential threats faster than you can imagine. Keep your profile low at all costs. Lock doors, drawn curtains, no visible lights, and absolutely no smells of cooking. The moment you advertise that you have food, water, or supplies, you paint a target on your back. That friendly neighbor who always borrowed your lawnmower, he's now looking at your house and wondering what you might have that his hungry family needs. Water purification becomes a daily survival task as municipal systems fail. You need to purify every drop by boiling it, using chlorine drops, or creating makeshift filters with sand and cloth. Don't trust any water source. Contaminated water will kill you faster than hunger, and it's a horrible way to go. Fuel conservation is critical. Park your car and save every drop of gasoline. Don't waste it on unnecessary trips to see if stores have reopened or to check on friends. Wasting fuel now could mean the difference between escape and being trapped later when things truly get dangerous. The psychological toll hits harder than most people expect. The novelty of candles and camping at home wears off within days. Darkness becomes oppressive, pressing down on you like a physical weight. Hunger sets in as a constant companion, not just stomach growling, but a deep, gnawing sensation that never goes away. Strict rationing means 1 meal a day, 2 if you're incredibly disciplined with your supplies. The realization dawns like a punch to the gut. Help isn't coming, and survival is now a long-term challenge that you might not win. By the second week, the blackout is no longer a temporary inconvenience. It's your new reality. The initial shock has faded, replaced by a grim determination to make your supplies last as long as possible. This is when most unprepared people start making fatal decisions driven by desperation. Strict rationing becomes even more critical. Meals are now smaller and less frequent than you ever thought possible. Hunger becomes that background hum that never stops, affecting every decision you make. You start looking at food differently, not as taste and nutrition, but as pure fuel to keep your body running for another day. Energy conservation takes on life and death importance. Every movement must be measured and purposeful. If a task doesn't directly aid your survival, it waits indefinitely. Jogging for exercise, rearranging furniture, or burning fuel for anything non-essential are luxuries you literally can't afford. Your body is now operating on a strict energy budget, and overspending means you might not have enough strength for truly critical tasks. Outside your home, desperation begins to drive human behavior to dangerous extremes. The streets are quieter during the day, but tension simmers just below the surface.
Fights break out over scraps of food and bottles of water. The emptied stores offer nothing but disappointment and sometimes violence as people search desperately for anything useful. Water becomes the cause of conflicts, as those who didn't act fast in the first hours now face the reality of severe dehydration. Staying unnoticed becomes your primary defense strategy. If you still have supplies while others are suffering, keeping it secret isn't just smart, it's survival. No lights that can be seen from outside. No cooking smells that drift in neighboring homes. No casual mentions of having food or water. Desperation makes previously rational people extremely dangerous. That soccer mom from down the street will absolutely consider breaking into your home if she thinks it means feeding her starving children. Security measures become necessary as break-ins begin. Hunger drives people to extremes they never thought possible. Don't play hero by trying to help everyone or defend your neighborhood. Your job is to protect your home and family by remaining invisible. Board up windows if necessary, but do it from the inside so it's not obvious. Create multiple barriers and make your home look as empty and worthless as every other house on the block. Inside your home, the battle shifts from physical survival to psychological endurance. Conversation dries up as everyone focuses on conserving energy. Tempers flare over tiny issues that would have been insignificant before. Spirits sink as the reality of your situation settles in for the long haul. Small luxuries become vital tools for maintaining sanity. A deck of cards, a notebook for journaling, storytelling sessions, anything to keep minds occupied and prevent complete despair. Mental collapse is as deadly as starvation because it leads to fatal decision-making. By day 14, the collapse of normal life is complete and irreversible. All perishable foods are gone, only shelf-stable supplies remain. Meals are bland and rare, but every single bite is precious beyond measure. The real threat shifts from resource management to other people. Survival now means staying invisible, guarding your resources with your life, and absolutely refusing to become someone else's solution to their desperation. Days 15 through 18 mark a critical shift in survival priorities. Thirst officially becomes the primary enemy, more dangerous than hunger. Bottled water and stored supplies are running dangerously low. Municipal water systems are completely dead, and even private wells fail if they rely on electric pumps. This is where most people who made it through the first 2 weeks finally break. You're now forced to create improvised water solutions that would have seemed impossible before the collapse. Building makeshift filters with layers of sand, charcoal, and cloth becomes a daily necessity. Constructing solar stills to extract moisture from the ground requires materials and knowledge most people don't have. Rainwater becomes liquid gold. Every container in your house is pressed into service for collection, and you're praying for storms. Sanitation challenges explode into serious health threats. Trash is piling up everywhere because garbage trucks stopped running weeks ago. Flies and rats multiply rapidly, carrying disease. Poor sanitation becomes a greater threat than hunger because illness will kill you faster than starvation. You need to dig latrines far from your living areas and water collection points, but this requires energy you can barely spare and tools you might not have. Around days 19 through 21, most survivors hit what experts call the 3-week wall, a breaking point where hope dies and desperation reaches critical levels. Personal supplies are gone for most people. Neighborhood goodwill has completely evaporated, replaced by suspicion and outright hostility. The hope of a quick resolution has faded into the acceptance that this might be permanent. Desperation leads to the formation of groups. Some attempt to barter and cooperate, but others simply take by force whatever they need. Social breakdown accelerates rapidly during this period. Cooperation gives way to paranoia and violence. Rumors spread quickly about who might still have food or water, fueling distrust and sometimes mob mentality. Families turn on each other. Neighbors who once shared holiday dinners now eye each other as potential threats or resources. Invisibility becomes more critical than ever before. Don't stand out in any way. No cooking smells that can be seen from outside, no lights visible from outside, no bragging or even casual mentions of having supplies. If you absolutely must trade for something essential, do it with extreme discretion and never reveal the full extent of your stockpile. Always downplay your situation to avoid becoming a target. Let others think you're just as desperate as they are. The mental shift during week 3 is profound and permanent. You stop thinking about when power will return and start thinking about how to make it through one more day. The luxuries and routines of pre-blackout life aren't just gone, they seem like dreams from another lifetime. Discipline and complete acceptance of harsh reality are what separates survivors from those who give up. By week 4, the collapse is total and irreversible. Fatigue and malnutrition set in even for the most prepared. Your body is running on fumes, and even simple tasks become exhausting. Injuries and illness become serious threats because your body can't heal properly on starvation rations. A small cut that would have been nothing before might now become infected. A twisted ankle could be catastrophic because you can't afford to be immobilized. Communities that managed to hold together for 3 weeks now fracture completely. Neighborhoods that once banded together now operate with complete suspicion and hostility. Some families make desperate attempts to flee to rural areas, usually without proper preparation for the journey. Others form militias to enforce their version of order, often leading to violent conflicts with other groups. Efficiency becomes more important than comfort in every decision.
High-calorie, low-volume foods like peanut butter, nuts, jerky, and rice become more valuable than gold. You eat purely for fuel, not flavor, and every meal is calculated for maximum caloric impact. Maintaining routines like boiling water and washing hands becomes critical for anchoring yourself mentally and preventing the complete psychological breakdown that leads to fatal mistakes. As day 27 approaches, law enforcement and emergency services have completely vanished. Violence becomes routine and organized. Looting isn't random anymore. It's systematic raids on warehouses, pharmacies, and any homes that might still contain supplies. The veneer of civilization has been completely stripped away. Having an escape plan becomes essential for survival. Maps replace phones because GPS is dead. Gear must be ready to go at a moment's notice. Routes must be chosen carefully to avoid populated areas where desperate groups might be waiting to ambush travelers. Moving at night reduces visibility but increases the risk of accidents and getting lost. Disease becomes the primary killer, surpassing violence and starvation. With no running water, no trash pickup, and no sewage treatment, illness spreads with terrifying speed. Diarrhea, infections, and contaminated water kill faster and more certainly than slow starvation. Hospitals are completely crippled, and medication supplies were exhausted weeks ago. A simple case of food poisoning becomes a death sentence. This is where preparation truly matters. Those who stockpiled hygiene supplies, soap, bleach, water filters, basic medications, have a fighting chance at avoiding the diseases that are killing others. Sanitation becomes as important as food and water for long-term survival. The unprepared don't just face hunger, they fall to preventable illnesses that would have been minor inconveniences in the normal world. A full month without power, government aid, or the systems that once made life comfortable leaves the world completely unrecognizable. Trash and debris litter every street. Homes are scarred by break-ins, fires, and desperate attempts at fortification. The air is thick with smoke from fires and the smell of unwashed bodies and decomposing waste. This isn't temporary hardship, it's the new reality. Survival after 30 days isn't about comfort or returning to normal life. Those concepts no longer exist. It's about resilience, adaptability, and the mental strength to endure when everything familiar has been destroyed. The critical questions become, did your preparations hold out when others failed? Did you manage to stay healthy and uninjured? Did you avoid the violence and disease that claimed so many others? These factors separate the survivors from the statistics. At the end of 30 days, if you've made it this far, the question shifts from how do I make it to tomorrow to what comes next. The foundation you built before the blackout, your food storage, water reserves, hygiene supplies, security measures, determines whether you have a future at all. The brutal truth that most people refuse to accept is that the first month may only be the beginning. Society unravels quickly when the grid goes down, but rebuilding takes years or decades, if it happens at all. The lessons from this nightmare scenario are clear and unforgiving. Preparation truly is everything. You need stockpiles of essential supplies, water, non-perishable food, hygiene items, and basic medical supplies. But you also need plans for sanitation, waste disposal, and water purification that don't rely on any infrastructure. Security and discretion can mean the difference between life and death, keeping your supplies and routines hidden from desperate neighbors who might take them by force. Adaptability and discipline separate survivors from casualties. Rationing must begin immediately, not when supplies run low. Energy conservation becomes a mathematical equation where every action is weighed against its survival value. Maintaining morale through small comforts and routines helps preserve the mental health necessary for good decision-making. Psychological survival is just as important as physical preparedness. Staying invisible and unnoticed is often safer than being well supplied and obvious. Trust must be given carefully because desperation changes people in ways you wouldn't expect. Most importantly, you must accept the new reality quickly. The faster you adapt to survival mode, the better your chances of making it through. A 30-day grid down event is a harsh teacher that strips away every comfort and routine of modern life, revealing the raw essentials of human survival. Those who endure aren't necessarily the strongest physically, but the most prepared, disciplined, and adaptable mentally. The journey from initial panic to long-term resilience is marked by hard choices, constant vigilance, and the absolute refusal to give up when everything seems hopeless. If you're watching this video, consider seriously what you would do if the lights went out tomorrow for a month or longer. Do you have the supplies, the skills, and most importantly, the mindset to survive when civilization collapses around you? The time to prepare is right now, while you still can, because when the grid goes down for real, every single decision you make will count toward whether you live or die. Take inventory of your supplies today: food, water, hygiene items, medications. Create detailed plans for rationing, sanitation, security, and, if necessary, escape. Practice discretion and learn how to keep a low profile. Build community connections carefully, but prepare for those relationships to change when desperation takes hold. Most importantly, keep learning about survival tactics, psychological resilience, and emergency preparedness. Survival isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about outlasting it completely. The lessons of a 30-day grid down event are brutal but clear. Prepare now, adapt quickly, and never underestimate the power of discipline and staying hidden. Your future and your family's future may depend on taking these lessons seriously before it's too late.